Hey, what's up guys? Brian, Drone Fanatic here, bringing you another video based on an interesting question that I saw on Facebook recently. So I'll bring this up here and take a look. Somebody asked the question, looking at the 501s standard TX screen, there's an H on the left side. Can this be used to know orientation and is the number 0 when pointing to the north? Question mark. Thanks. So someone chimed in, and I thought it was incorrect at first, and now that I reread it again, it seems correct, but a little confusing. So first one says it's how level or flat the quad is in both orientations. This is true, but kind of vague and not really explained very well. Pick the quad up and tilt it left and right, forwards and backwards, and you'll see. I'm assuming you'll see that the R and P numbers will change and the H number. So I thought this was a really good opportunity to kind of take a look at what we're talking about here. The P is the pitch, and that is the angle at which the quad is pitched forward or backward. Honestly, I haven't tested this out. I'm assuming a forward pitch means, a negative pitch means it's pitched down and forward, and a positive pitch means it's angled up and heading backward. Roll is the R value here. Roll is the angle along the axis of the quad to the right or to the left. And H is the heading. So to answer the first part of that question about H, it is correct. Yes, H is the heading based on this compass rose here. So 0 degrees is a north heading, 90 degrees is an east heading, 180 is a south heading, and 270 degrees is a west heading. But I'd like to unpack this a little bit more because there's an interesting question in here that I think can be somewhat misleading. So if you read down here lower in the comments, it says, thanks. I was trying to figure out a way to know orientation at long distances. So I'm assuming here long distances means out of line of sight, or maybe the quad's so far away that you see it as a speck, but there's no way that you can really tell the orientation. So if I know the number when the nose is pointing toward me, I should be able to use that to get orientation. Theoretically, yes, this is true, right? So if you know that when the quad takes off and it is heading north, so let's take a look at this. We've got our nice little Hubsan right over here. If we know that it's heading north and we fly away, who knows, 500 meters to the point where you can't really see anything, and you turn it around so that the H reading is then 180, you know it's facing you, and you push the stick forward in a vacuum with all perfect conditions. Technically, that quad should return exactly to the same spot that it took off from. However, things are not theoretical. Things are not in a vacuum. There are many, many factors that can affect us. So I wanted to go over this to sort of explain the way I think about this, and maybe it'll give you a good perspective on how things go. So let's just unpack this first example. Let's just say that you've got your quad here. You're going to take off at a 0 heading, okay? So you're going to go, who knows, let's say this is out 500 meters. But you've got a wind here that's going 10 miles per hour east. Now, nothing is to scale here. This is obviously just very conceptual. But let's say that while you think you're going perfectly forward, that wind has brought your quad to the east a little bit. So essentially, your quad now is here when you think you just push the stick directly forward. So you know the heading is still 0. So now we're going to turn this around to 180 degrees so that it's facing home again, right? And now, again, what we think we're doing is flying it directly home, but that 10-mile-an-hour wind is still in effect, okay? So essentially what's happened now is your quad didn't fly straight back here, it flew here. So now not only are you not even close to where you started, but essentially, let me find this. Essentially, when you flew and you thought you were going out and back, you were really going like this, out and back, and you ended up here, okay? So this is not good when you're just using line of sight or when you don't have GPS on, because depending on your height, maybe the quad is big enough to see, but maybe if it's 100 meters up, it's so tiny that there's no way that you could see this, let alone, locate it in a contrasty area. You know, I think you'd have a really hard time. I think you'd have a really hard time relying on this whole concept of using the H heading values to know your orientation to get home. Yes, it'll give you your orientation, but it definitely will not give you a really good reference for getting yourself home without GPS or without return to home working. And remember, this example was under idealized conditions with a constant 10-mile-an-hour wind. Let's say you're way up there and wind is gusting, and another thing that I noticed is, I don't know what you call it. I'm not exactly sure what the hang on, let me get rid of this Facebook message. I'm not really sure what you call it, but I have noticed that when I fly, I don't know why this is such bad quality now. Let's make it a little smaller. So when I fly this, it doesn't always fly in the direction that I think it's headed. So if I push the stick forward, what happens is sometimes it's tilted a little bit, right? So even though I think I'm flying straight in a straight line, it's actually tilted. Or it could be flying this way, but the wind is blowing it this way, and it's kind of all over the place. I've noticed that when I push my finger forward on the stick over here, there's not a lot of resistance to keep that stick centered. So even though I'm giving it aileron forward to go perfectly straight, if I'm pushing the stick to either side in even the slightest bit of pressure, it's not going to be flying straight. It's going to be leaning one way and drifting one way and flying straight. So again, I thought this was just a really good opportunity to sort of address this question and say that in theoretical terms, the answer to this question is yes, you can use your heading, or you would be able to use your heading if you knew the direction that you took off from to get back. However, I think that in realistic terms, there's really no way to rely on that accurately. There are just so many factors that would mess that up, that even if you thought you should be close to where you started from, I would be willing to bet that if you tried this, you would be sadly mistaken. It could be lost, it could run into something. So anyway, I just thought this was a really good opportunity to share this little video with you. Hopefully you found it helpful. If you've got any other suggestions in the comments, or if you like this video, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button and subscribe, obviously. I will keep bringing some flight videos, and obviously if you guys have any other questions that you'd like to discuss, let me know, and we will go from there. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye.